Let's talk about this Darvin Ham news, Logan. Seems that basically all Lakers fans have been crying out for his head for quite some time now, and they have gotten it. Do you think this was the right decision by LA to fire Ham?
Yeah, I don't think Darvin Ham's a good basketball coach. Me and my boys ended up calling at the end of the season, dude. We were calling him Darvin Ham Sandwich because that's what he looks like he's thinking about on the sideline the whole time.
Yeah, you
Sitting
should
there,
make a shirt with that. Trademark that.
just him sitting with a thought bubble and just a ham sandwich up there, man.
Well, whatever
Yeah,
your
man.
creative vision is.
Good old Darvin Ham Sandwich, man. And it symbolizes him as a person, man. He's just bland. Like when you think of a ham sandwich, it's like, oh man, I got to eat a ham sandwich,
It's
dude.
not
Really?
great.
Just plain white bread, not even toasted, man. No mayonnaise, no lettuce, no tomato, no cheese. Just a ham sandwich, man.
Yeah.
Good old Darvin Ham Sandwich, dude. I don't think he's a great coach. I put this squarely on his shoulders. The regular season shortcomings of the Los Angeles Lakers, like that was one of my issues. And maybe this goes back to the leaders of the team and LeBron and Anthony Davis. Your job, more games than not, is to just get the team energized, prepared, ready to go, ready to give 100%, and schematically to be ready, right? I felt too many times during this regular season the Los Angeles Lakers were lacking in effort and were underprepared schematically. And too many times they would put their heads down, they'd throw in the towel, and they'd give up before the game was over. So I have a huge issue with Darvin Ham and the effort and energy department in getting this team ready to play. Do I put that all on his shoulders? Not all of it. I put some of it on the team's leaders like LeBron and Anthony Davis, but I put a lot of that on Darvin Ham. Another issue that I have with Darvin Ham is his use of his personnel. I empathize with Darvin Ham's situation in the sense that I don't think the Lakers team was great and super complimentary around LeBron and Anthony Davis, right? A lot of your bench is Jackson Hayes and Gabe Vincent and Cam Reddish and Taurean Prince, and you're just simply asking guys to play above their means. And I know they dealt with some injuries, Jared Vanderbilt, Gabe Vincent, but that's not the reason the Lakers sucked in the regular season. It was the fact that Darvin Ham wanted to trot Taurean Prince and Cam Reddish out there for so many of the games, and he benched Austin Reeves for a significant portion of the season. Like, I do put that on
Reeves
him.
and D'Lo together for a stretch.
And it's like, oh yeah, let's bench both of our best shot creators and the only guys that can reliably shoot from behind the arc and in the mid-range. Great work, Darvin. So I'm not going to put the fact that he didn't have great personnel around him. I put that on Le GM, and I put that on Mr. Rob Pelinka. But I do put on how he used his personnel on him. And then my final gripe with Darvin, his use of timeouts, man. There were just too many times during the regular season and the playoffs where the other team is going on a run, and I'm screaming at my television, Darvin Ham Sandwich, please call a timeout. Your team is getting dogged right now, brother. They need a breather, and they need to reconcile. And they let their leads evaporate, and the other team will be right back in the game. And my final thing, this goes with the energy and effort category, just his demeanor. I don't know, man. I know Tibbs kind of has the same demeanor sometimes, but Tibbs looks pissed off. Tibbs looks angry at his team. Like, God damn, he's got that Bill Belichick thing going, man, where it's just, I expect so much out of you guys, but the team gets it. Darvin looks like apathetic sometimes, where it's like, it's going to happen. I don't see enough fire and care with Darvin, man. Ultimately, man, too, I don't really, Carson, know how much a Lakers head coach can really impact the team. Like, is LeBron the de facto head coach? Like, is that the conclusion that... Is this even like a position that you would want if you're a guy that's going to come into this situation? It's a really toxic head coaching position, man. And it's a really hard job. Like, I wonder at this point, man, if this is even a job that I would really want if I'm a prospective candidate for the Lakers. Because at the end of the day, if you lose and the Lakers get eliminated in the first round and you underachieve in the regular season, is there a silver lining? Like, if you win the title, it's whoop-de-doo. LeBron won another ring. Nobody gives any credit to Frank Vogel for winning that chip, and if you get bounced, it's all on your shoulders. I don't know, man. I don't think Darvin Ham was a good basketball coach. I think the Lakers made the right decision in firing him, but it's not an enviable job, and I really don't know if it's a job that I would want if I was a prospective candidate for the Lakers.
It's tough, and that leash is obviously very short. Frank Vogel experienced that. Darvin Ham was not a good basketball coach, so I think that this was the right decision. But I think this was more about the regular season than it was the playoffs. The playoffs is what draws the most attention, and I think a lot of Lakers fans were done with Darvin already, but that was when I was like, this guy is just clearly not a good basketball coach, frankly incompetent at times. Way too many awful effort stretches, and yeah, you can put that on the players, absolutely, but like the head of the snake, the coach is responsible for that as well. This was the worst effort team in the league. That does not reflect well on Darvin Ham. And then the various starting lineup combinations that we saw, just absolutely disastrous. The stretch where both Reeves and D'Lo were coming off the bench, like staggering their minutes, starting one and benching the other is one thing. Do I think it was right to bench Reeves over D'Lo? No, because I think Reeves is better. But to say, okay, we need one shot creating, offensively oriented guard, and then we need one of our point of attack athletes, and we want to pair them together in the backcourt. That makes some sense, right? To say, hey, what if we took our two offensively oriented guards, who are our third and fourth best players, and we benched both of them so we could start two offensively inept but athletic defensive guards, but who ultimately just aren't very good basketball players? Like, that was insane. That was a moment where I was like, did an NBA head coach actually do this? Like, is there something we're not seeing here? But it was just terrible coaching. Taurean Prince started a vast majority of this season. Started a lot more than Rui Hachimura, who didn't have a great playoff series, but Rui's just better. He's bigger. He's more skilled offensively. Prince was getting killed on the glass. They were -7 on off with him on the floor. They were significantly worse. Cam Reddish was playing a bunch, and his defense was fun for stretches, but offensively, he was just way too inconsistent and not at the level that they needed. And he was, again, starting for a solid stretch this season, playing over 20 minutes a game. So that's where I feel like he cost the most, and that's where they ended up in this position. You have to play the Denver Nuggets in the first round. If they were a better regular season team with more consistent effort and more coherent lineups, then that probably wouldn't have been the case. There were still postseason issues. I still think you saw rotational stuff. D'Lo playing more minutes per game than Austin Reeves is weird to me. When D'Lo had some awful games. Neither of them were great, but Reeves was more consistent. He was at least bringing some value defensively. D'Lo just had some nightmare games. Vando was available for game 5, didn't play, and maybe he didn't feel totally ready to go or whatever in the moment, but Taurean gets 19 minutes, goes 0 of 5. Like, if Taurean Prince isn't knocking his shots down, then I would rather have Jared Vanderbilt out there every single day of the week. Starting the series with Rui on Jokic to me was telling, because it's just like, we've seen that this doesn't work. In the regular season, you got abused like that. And of course, he moved off of it, and they tried different looks, and they ended up doubling more aggressively in the final game and a half of this series, which I think was the right decision. But it took a while to get there, and the place that they started was not good. So he got out coached. I didn't think it was a disastrous series from Darvin Ham. I think ultimately the Nuggets players soundly outplayed the Lakers players down the stretches of these key games. Murray and Jokic took things up a level. Anthony Davis didn't play all that well. And that's what it comes down to. That's where I was like, you want to put everything on Darvin Ham? That's foolish. But he's not a good basketball coach. It certainly seems like the players had just kind of lost faith in him. The Anthony Davis quotes about how we don't know what we're doing. And they ultimately just don't have time to waste with 39-year-old LeBron James. So I think this is the right decision. It annoys me when people, and this happens with the Lakers because they're so under a microscope, want to put it all on one guy. Often it's the coach. But if they had run it back with Darvin Ham next year, I'd be like, why? What are you to gain from this? What do you still have to learn? He is not ready to be the coach of the Los Angeles Lakers as they try to contend, at least in the final years of the LeBron AD era.
I mean, looking forward to that, one, I just want your opinion, Carson. Like, what do you think about this job as a whole? Would you want it? And then two, what kind of head coach do the Los Angeles Lakers need? Like, is there anybody that can step in here? And that's the difficulty, is like, that's the thing that I've always thought is troublesome about this, is the power dynamic between like a LeBron and the head coach. Like, is there a good answer? Are there any potential candidates? Yeah, so I mean, I guess those are some of my questions. Any potential candidates? Is this a job that you would want as a coach? And what kind of coach do the Lakers need?
It's a good question. I do think it's a tough job. However, it's not a bad job just because of the basketball talent that you inherit. The first candidate who stands out to me simply because he is the most proven and the best head coach who currently is not a head coach is Mike Budenholzer. Now, would there be frustrations with him in LA? I'm sure he would get scapegoated some. We know that he historically has been too rigid in the playoff environments, and that has cost the Milwaukee Bucks, but he also coached them to a title, and he's one of the best regular season coaches that we've seen, and I do think you would have a very coherent identity under him, and you would ultimately be a better basketball team. Phil Handy is another option who stands out just because that's a LeBron guy. You can keep things in-house, you promote him. That to me would be prioritizing like the relationship aspect of it, saying, okay, LeBron, we're going to go with a guy you like. But whoever LeBron wants should definitely be a strongly considered, if not the favorite here. The last guy who I had, who I don't know if he's the best fit, but I'm just really intrigued and I wonder if he gets a head coaching job somewhere, is Chris Quinn, the lead assistant for the Heat. Just because that guy is always so active and it feels like he is damn near a co-head coach. And just if anybody is soaked up that much Spo knowledge and gets the identity that much, I would be interested in taking that guy on. But also that's sort of antithetical to this Lakers vibe right now. I don't know if having a real Heat ethos is matching up with what they're doing. So it's a tough job. I don't think that there's a perfect answer. I would just try to get the best basketball coach. How about that? That's where I would start. And I think that that's probably Bud out of guys who are available right now. But there could also be some young assistant who we haven't really got to see shine yet.
Any credence to the JJ Redick rumors?
Boy, wouldn't that be weird. I'm going to go ahead and say no to that. And that's the other thing with an assistant. This isn't a job where you have training wheels. This isn't a job where you have time to learn, right? You don't get a year or two of, okay, we're figuring stuff out together. No, the pressure and the spotlight is on you immediately. And I can't imagine JJ having no high-level coaching experience wanting to step into that. I also can't imagine LeBron, even though JJ's his guy, like, he's older than JJ. Like, that's just a weird dynamic. That doesn't seem feasible to me at all.
Yeah, I think it's a guy who steps in here, sets the tone, sets the culture immediately, and it's a reality for the Lakers, man. The clock is ticking. Window is almost shut. We got to go make it happen next season, man. You got to capitalize on whatever years you got left to LeBron and AD, and I think that's by getting somebody who's ready. And I know Coach Bud would be frustrating, but he's got the experience, man. That's probably my favorite candidate. There's going to be frustrating moments for sure, man. There are with all Coach Bud teams, but the guy's been around. He gets it. And he's not in my Doc Rivers tier. You know what I mean? Like he's soundly out of the Doc Rivers tier. So I think Coach Bud would probably be my leading candidate.
He'll also just have better, more versatile personnel. Like, how can you really get on him for playing Brook Lopez and drop no matter what, when Brook Lopez is built to just play drop? Like, we saw Doc Rivers mix it up some with switching and then doubling, but I don't think it was super successful. Like, he's just not a versatile player. There's other stuff that we can look at. Sometimes maybe you just shouldn't have played Brook. Whatever. We don't need to revisit Mike Budenholzer's career. I do think he's a good basketball coach, but Lakers fans are going to get pissed at anybody. Lakers fans are going to blame anybody. And that's where I look at this and I just think, if you feel like, oh, we would have won that series if not for Darvin Ham, I just disagree. I think you were fighting a really uphill battle, and I think that the players were outplayed, and that's the deciding factor. And the Lakers players right now, although they are good, they simply aren't one of like the tier 1 threats in the West, right? The gap between Denver and Minnesota and them is significant, and coaches don't offset that. Eric Spoelstra, right, is a genius. He can overcome that more than anybody else. Still needs his players to ball out. You see what happens when he doesn't have Jimmy Butler on the floor, right? Like, a coach can only be so impactful, and especially a coach on a LeBron-led team. So I think generally we can overstate the significance of this stuff at times. It'll be interesting to see where they go, though.